I just wanted to put this food for thought out there, okay? Today, Governor Newsome is pushing through legislation to move forward with redistricting or gerrymandering California. Again, that's not so much the issue, right? Because we're dealing with things that Trump's been also doing that is also considered gerrymandering, but that is not the biggest issue. The biggest issue here at hand that I'm coming to understand through detail is something that we all kind of subliminally or subconsciously believe that things could be done politically if they were needed to, but these politicians choose not to. For example, us here in California have been dealing with super high gas prices. And how does California react? It closes down refineries. We've been dealing with a housing crisis here. There's not enough supply, which creates a high demand, which creates really skyrocketing prices. And instead of combating that with what's going on with immigration, what's going on with real estate, what's being allowed to be built and what's not, in what areas, instead it always falls on the average everyday person. We have to swallow the burden and the cost, and the government just gives us some sort of excuse. In this case, it's Governor Newsome, saying we can't really do anything. Time and time again, we're told that the California government can't do anything. So we're forced to pay the highest gas prices, the highest rent prices, the highest prices for any sort of utilities needed out there. And it constantly comes back on the taxpayer and the average day citizen. But with this gerrymandering case, what is amazing is you can physically, in the real world, in real time, see that the government can do something when they are motivated. See, what Trump's doing is he's taking the initiative, which is really making the Democrats uncomfortable, and all of a sudden, they can redistrict California. I mean, the last time this was a big issue was in 2010 when Prop 20 was passed, and voters wanted the right and the say whether to redistrict or not. Governor Newsom's taking it into his own hands, and he's creating a special election that he's going to give it to the voters to decide whether they want to redistrict, so California can have more seats. Again, the big picture here is when the government wants something, when the Democratic or the Republican side is threatened, they can do something. So we shouldn't have to suffer the way we suffer. This goes back to what I've constantly been saying. Politicians need to be accountable. We have to figure out a way for them to be accountable. Otherwise, we're all going to continue to suffer. Here's the big picture, right? What if what's been going on the last 4 or 6 years, regardless of what side you're on, what if it's all in the big picture, right? The big picture being that government wants more control. So let's say for the last 4.5 years, the Democrats have been breeding chaos. All of a sudden, there needs to be a swing the other way. So the conservatives come in, the Republicans, and they say, well, we need more laws. We need to overstep. The thing going on in D.C. where Trump is bringing in the National Guard, that's a scary thing because when government takes control, it never really wants to give it back. So again, what if it's all like part of the bigger picture? What if behind the scenes, they're all the same thing, which I constantly believe. So in this case, what we've been going on in this short cycle is the Democrats bred chaos and the Republicans are going to bring harmony by overreaching. And that seems to be happening. I'd love to see the brighter, better picture with possibly what could happen with Trump. But as we are seeing with what's happening with Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, all these other things, it's not looking the best. Yes, things take time, so you got to give them time. But it seems, unfortunately, that it's always business as usual unless they, the upper political class, wants a change.